throws by Phillip Rivers today, all considering, yes, he missed a few, but there's a lot of trust with him and a lot of these receivers on the team. You could see that throwing balls up, whether it was there to Alec Pierce or here over the middle. This was a big gain of 17 to Tyler Warren, but he definitely had a connection with a lot of these guys. Michael Pittman Jr., obviously, we know their history together. You see that right there, but an impressive start for him. Now, the big thing that he wants to do and this whole offense wants to do is score more touchdowns, but I think today was a good building block for Phillip Rivers in his return to Indy.
One thing, though, Andrew, it's week 15. We have no time for building blocks at this point. You have to make that push for the playoffs, regardless. That aside, it was an emotional return for Rivers, no doubt. He got a little bit choked up, actually, in the post-game press conference, talking about what him coming back and playing in the NFL 5 years after the fact could be an inspiration and encouragement to little boys, little girls, and everyone out there. Take a listen.
Maybe it will, I don't know, inspire or teach, not to run or be scared of what may or may not happen, Hopefully, certainly I think of my sons and those ball players, that I'm in charge of at the school, that they'll say, like, crap, coach wasn't scared. You know what I mean? It's like, shoot, sometimes there is doubt, and it's real. And again, you can the guaranteed safe bet is to go home or to not go for it. And the other one is, shoot, let's see what happens. And so, I hope that in that sense that it can be a positive.
Andrew, I'm not going to lie. I've listened to that probably 5 times, and I get choked up every time listening to Rivers talk about just how much, you can see how much this means to him. Not even just playing in the NFL, but having the Colts come after him, wanting him back after being out of the game for 5 years. Such an inspirational story. Win or lose today, you can feel that with Rivers there.
Yeah, without question, Angela, and it's funny because his first press conference at the Colts complex after all this started transpiring on Wednesday, one of the first things he said, it was honestly the first question I was asked to him, he said, "This is going to be a long answer, and I don't want to get too emotional." You can just tell all week long how much this means to him that he's back on the football field. We were on this field before this game started. He was the first Colts player to make his way onto the field behind me, doing mental reps, reading the play chart. And you could see he was just looking around, soaking it all in. He looked at the crowd, the empty seats a few times, and you could just see it in his face how much it meant for him to come back here and play the game that he loves. And one of the coolest things that's gone viral over the course of the last few hours is his kids, the students that he coaches back in football, were watching him play today. And when he threw that touchdown, there's a video out there on social media. The kids were all having a watch party, and they went absolutely bonkers when he connected with Josh Downs for that touchdown. And that shows you the impact that he's got on those kids and the lessons that he taught them today by just coming back here.
You know who else went bonkers on that touchdown was Shane Steichen and that entire Colts bench area. Just seeing Rivers be able to connect with Josh Downs on that 8-yard touchdown. Andrew, looking at Steichen and how he managed to manufacture this game with a 44-year-old quarterback, one that he knows well, one that he coached back in the Chargers days. How impressed were you of how Shane Steichen managed this game from an offensive play standpoint?
Shane Steichen did today what he needed to do in Phillip Rivers' first game back as an NFL player. We knew, everyone knew, you had to establish the running game, and you saw Shane Steichen early on give the ball to Jonathan Taylor quite a bit. JT actually finished the game with almost 90 yards of rushing, which is exactly what you want. You want to open the field up for Phillip Rivers because, again, he's still building chemistry with these guys. So Shane Steichen, when he was calling these plays, understood you got to help Phillip Rivers out as much as you can. And listen, they know each other well. We know that. We know the history with those two. He's coached Phillip Rivers in San Diego and LA with the Chargers, but Shane Steichen did exactly what he needed to do to give his team a chance to win late in this game. This was never going to be a 50-40 game. It just wasn't. With Phillip Rivers coming back, there's no way that he was going to be able to win a shootout. Let's be frank about that. But you knew it would be a good grinded-out chance for the Colts to get a win. Shane Steichen's defense looked great, and his play calling reflected just controlling the clock. In the entire first half, the Colts controlled this entire game, And I think that made a huge impact on Phillip Rivers, especially building that confidence as the game progressed.
Andrew Steichen said post-game, this game went exactly how they wanted it to, and they thought they could win if it was a grind-out game just like this. Just come up just a few plays short on that. You talked about running back Jonathan Taylor. Let's put Phillip Rivers, I know it's a big deal, let's put him to the side for right now and dive into the rest of this team, because Taylor had a slow start every single game since that 250-yard, 3-touchdown game in Germany against the Falcons. Today, felt a little better. Close to 90 yards, 25 carries. Andrew, what was the difference for Taylor today to be so productive against Seattle?
I think just JT being JT, he had the reps. That's the biggest thing with him. If you give him the ball, he's going to work his way down the field. And you cannot forget the Seahawks defense. It's one of the best rushing defenses in the league. But even just doing research for this game, here's a crazy stat. Now, after this game, this is the 23rd straight game that the Seahawks have not allowed a 100-yard rusher. That's insane. Jonathan Taylor got up to 87. He nearly broke that today, which says you just how good Jonathan Taylor is as a running back. But he got going, and they kept going back to Jonathan Taylor as the game progressed. They didn't get away from him like they did in Kansas City. And again, this goes back to Shane Steichen. Yeah, JT didn't have that necessarily monster 30-yard rush or 40-yard rush or what we saw in Germany, that huge 70, 80-yard carry, but he got 9 yards, 5, 4, 3. He was working his way down the field, and more importantly, his carries gave the ball to the Colts and made sure they kept it out of Sam Darnold's hands.
One thing the Colts weren't able to do was convert on third down. Just 5 of 13. Kind of stalled all of these offensive drives, which led the Colts to have to rely on the kicking game. Thank goodness Blake Groupe was great at kicking the football today. Fantastic, including a career-high 60-yard field goal. Andrew, when the Colts lined up to give Groupe this 60-yard shot, what was going through your head?
He's a small dude, but he's got a huge leg. I mean, that was extremely impressive, him able to nail that. We saw that earlier in the game when he nailed that 54-yarder. Just the guy's having a little bit of a resurgence here since coming back to Indianapolis, and just extremely confident. That continues to build, and this is why the Colts brought him in, to make extra points, make field goals, and he's doing just that, knowing how close these games are. And the confidence that he has and the players around him, well, it keeps growing up by each kick.
I'm not gonna act like I was completely poised out there, but just enough, and just kind of live in the moment, embrace it, and I couldn't ask for a much better opportunity than to go out there with everybody today for the whole game to play out the way it did. Thought we had it. We knew that how much of a difference we could be in this game, and not just me, Luke, and Rigo. I mean, everybody was all on the same page, all working toward the same thing. And just telling meetings, you can tell practice, just the guys showed up ready, and we made the plays we needed to, but they made one more.
And that's why Blake Groupe is our St. Elmo hot stat of the week. You see it right there, 3 of 3 field goals. That career-long 60-yard field goal that felt like was the game winner today here in Seattle. And you see right there, he has not missed a field goal since joining the Colts. Definitely on the right track and a solid replacement considering all the issues the Colts have had, whether it's Spencer Schrader's injury or the misses from Michael Badgley. But it seems like he's a steady force as the Colts finish up this season.
Everybody coming to the Colts to revive their careers. Daniel Jones, Blake Groupe, now maybe even Phillip Rivers. That's a crazy stat as we try to take some positives away from a nail-biting, heartbreaking 18-16 loss against the Seahawks today out in Seattle. Andrew, don't go anywhere. We're going to have more coming up right here on Sports Locker Sunday because we have to talk about the defense. Yeah, it was another positive for the Colts today. I'm feeling very positive tonight on Sports Locker Sunday. They held the Seahawks to just 6 field goals, no touchdowns for Seattle today. We'll talk about what went right for the Colts next. And still ahead, what a special night it was last night in New York City for IU quarterback Fernando Mendoza, hoisting that Heisman Trophy in losers. Sports Locker Sunday. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching Wish TV. We are local.
Welcome back into Sports Locker Sunday. I'm Angela Morian. The Colts losing a heartbreaker, and Phillip Rivers' return to the NFL, 18-16 against the Seattle Seahawks today. Joining us now live from Lumen Field is Andrew Chernoff. He's back, as I should say. Andrew, flipping to the other side of the ball now. This Colts defense, you cannot blame them for this loss, despite Seattle's last-second field goal that eventually won the game. They held the second-best offense in the league out of the end zone today, just 6 field goals for Seattle, and also was able to stop their run game less than 50 yards on the ground for the Seahawks as well.
Yeah.
How much confidence should the Colts defense take from this game into the rest of the season?
A ton of confidence. We know just how good the Seattle Seahawks offense is, so the fact that you kept them out of the end zone is huge. You mentioned it, Angela. This loss is not on the defense at all. I asked Zaire Franklin about just how they keep this going, and he even told me the biggest thing that they needed to do today was make one more stop or force a turnover, but that didn't happen. But that's the mentality that this defense is having, and Lou Anarumo had a heck of a game plan set up for this Colts defense today against Sam Darnold and this high-powered Seahawks offense. They got after him. Leatu Latu especially. Man, what a game that dude had. But an impressive performance by this defense. Again, though, not getting it done. They knew the pressure was going to be on their side of the ball because of Phillip Rivers and just adjusting for that offense. But overall, this defense looked stellar today. Although Zaire Franklin will be the first to tell you there's still more work to be done.
I think, we walked in this looking for a fight, and I think we made it there. I feel like, we played well, but at the end of the day, we got to get the stops that we need to win the game. And, I think that's the league. Regardless of what goes on throughout the game, it comes down to that last minute. And it's about who's going to make the play, who did it, and we didn't make the play.
Andrew, that defense played so great, but you have to feel like they are so motivated heading into the rest of this schedule, which is just 3 games left, if you can believe it. With the AFC South standings, we'll look at those right here. Maybe the Colts are a little out of that AFC South title that they were so hoping to get. Jacksonville and Houston both won today. 10-4, 9-5, standing in the way of the Colts for not just that divisional title, but also in the wild card race, as well as Houston is standing firmly right there at 9-5. Colts 8-6. If you're looking at this, the Colts have to play Houston and Jacksonville before this season is over. What stands out to you the most about these remaining 3 games, with the Colts hoping to make the playoffs for the first time since 2020?
Well, what stands out to me is just how brutal those 3 games are, and we've seen it firsthand all season long from those teams. We knew the back end of this Colts schedule was going to be absolutely insane, and it continued today, and it will continue next Monday night against the San Francisco 49ers. The Colts have to win out. I think that's extremely clear, and based on just scenarios, they have to. And now they need help also. That's the other thing. It's not just win and you're in. Their playoff chances at this current moment in time, 17%, according to the NFL's official website. So they need some help. These other teams, whether it's Houston, Jacksonville, the Chargers, all are pretty much in good shape. The Colts have to win those 3, and they need help. But, they got to score more points. I think that's the biggest thing. If their defense plays like they did today, they give their offense a shot, but you've got to score more points than 16.
The NFL's official predictor, a little bit more gracious to the Colts. The New York Times has them at 10% right now. You run the table, win all 3 of those games, 98% chance to make the playoffs. 49ers just beat Penn 37 on the Titans today as well, to keep an eye on before Monday Night Football next week. Andrew, great job in Seattle. We'll have more from you coming up at 11, but great job as always at Lumen Field as the Colts drop 18-16 to the Seahawks today. We'll let you go, Andrew. Catch your flight back to Indy. But we're staying right here on Sports Locker Sunday because we need to talk about this Indiana Hoosiers football team, undefeated Big Ten champs, now celebrating a Heisman win as well. We'll talk with Fernando Mendoza next. Plus, the Indiana Pacers were hoping for some history for head coach Rick Carlisle today, looking for his 1,000th career win. Could they get it done against the Wizards right here in Indy? Highlights a little bit later in the show. Stay with us.
Sports Locker, presented by Community Health Network. The best Colts coverage in Indiana. Wish TV. We are local. TV 23, from Friday night high school rivalries on the Zone, to the passion of HBCU matchups, to the power of the Missouri Valley, and the tradition of IU basketball, plus the best games of the ACC on the CW. No one covers Indiana's game like we do. Wish TV and 90 TV 23. The most local sports anywhere.
The Indiana Pacers back at Gainbridge Fieldhouse this afternoon, hosting the Washington Wizards for a little afternoon matinee. It was the same starting five as the last two games for the Pacers. That's significant considering all these injuries this team has had to endure this season. Pacers hoping that consistency helps get a win, plus maybe head coach Rick Carlisle's 100th career victory. Carlisle would be just the 11th coach in NBA history to join that exclusive club. Pacers defense looking good for him early. Pascal Siakam forcing a turnover. Sets up Benedict Mathurin. Take a look at this shot. Banks it in. Mathurin laughing a little bit about that. He finished with 15. Pacers go up 2. Offense falls apart in the second quarter, though. Just 15 points for the Pacers. Jarris Walker, Johnny Furphy trying to revive it. That cuts the Wizards' lead to 13, but Washington took advantage of the Pacers' poor shooting. Just 37% for Indiana. Meanwhile, CJ McCollum, 100% on that shot. Carlisle still waiting for that 100th win, 109-89, the final.
The way we played today is not acceptable. Not enough energy, not the right spirit. Obviously, not enough aggression, physicality. You can kind of go down the list. But we've got work to do. We've got a few days this week, and we've got to make it productive.
Pacers host the Knicks Thursday. Maybe that would be Carlisle's 1,000th win. We'll have more Sports Locker Sunday when we get back.
This is Fox 59 Sports Overtime.
Hello and welcome to Sports Overtime here on Fox 59. I'm Chris Hagan. The Colts throwing a Hail Mary at quarterback today, and it almost resulted in an improbable win out in Seattle. The Horseshoe bringing back 44-year-old Phillip Rivers at QB, trying to salvage the season, which is 4 games left on the schedule. Rivers hadn't taken an NFL snap in almost 5 seasons. Colts' second possession, though, Uncle Phil leading the team to points. Connects with Amir Abdullah. Nice run after catch, 14 yards, leads to a Blake Groupe 42-yard field goal. The Colts defense solid all day long. Keeps Seattle out of the end zone the entire game. Leatu Latu drops Sam Darnold here for the sack. Later in the second quarter, Rivers to Michael Pittman Jr. They were teammates back in 2020. That would set up a 54-yard Groupe field goal. Into the half, the Colts push it through. Rivers to Josh Downs for an 8-yard TD. Colts were up 10, but just up by a touchdown at the break. Second half, Colts offense can't get anything going until the final minutes. Rivers to Alec Pierce for 16 yards. Helps the Horseshoes move into field goal range, trying to get the lead. And then Groupe delivers from distance. How about 60 yards? Longest field goal in team history during the regular season. Colts up 1, but 47 seconds to play. Shane Steichen loving every minute of it. They didn't like the end. Seahawks answer with a 56-yard field goal from Jason Myers with just 18 seconds left. 6 for 6 on field goals for Myers. Colts for one last chance, but Rivers' pass a little too high, gets tipped, and it is intercepted by Kobe Bryant to end the miracle story. Heartbreaking 4 straight loss for the Shoe. 18-16 the final today, and our Chris Woodland was there.
A Cinderella story that only Hollywood could write didn't have the happy ending the Colts were hoping for. But quarterback Phillip Rivers was surprisingly solid, if not spectacular, in throwing the only touchdown of the game in this heartbreaking loss.
It was exciting. Shoot, it was exciting to take a 13-3 lead. But first off, on a play that we kind of had up all week in the red zone in that area, on that down and distance, on that hash, we practiced at the exact same spot, this week. So when things come up like that, they fire you up. Obviously, you throw in the fact that it's been 1,800 days and they've thrown a touchdown, or an interception for that matter. So we got both of those box checks.
Somebody said it to me on the sideline. It was like, hey, Phillip Rivers' first touchdown in 5 years. I'm like, dang, that's tough. So I can tell my kids I got a touchdown from a legend like that.
For him to go out there and do what he did after 5 years off, to have a chance to win it and get a game-winning field goal, close to it, obviously, with 40 seconds left in a hostile environment against a top defense. just shows, his commitment to coming back and playing the way he did and fighting like crazy for his teammates. And, I thought it was pretty awesome to see.
And with no Sauce Gardner, Mooney Ward, or DeForest Buckner, the Colts' shorthanded defense did what no one expected, holding Seattle out of the end zone.
We played on defense for sure. Just people going at it, 3 and outs, doing things like, that we say. Like what we're talking, what we want to get done while we're on the field, get it done and get off. But I would just say this is another game where we got to figure out, what's going on.
Regardless of what goes on throughout the game, it comes down to that last second, last minute. And it's about who's going to make the play and who didn't, and we didn't make the play.
The Colts may have lost 5 of their last 6, but staring down a very good Seattle team here in Washington maybe gives them a little bit of hope as they head home now for their next 2 games. In Seattle with the Colts, I'm Chris Woodlick.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. Joined now by JMB from 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. And John, this had all the makings of a feel-good holiday movie from Hallmark, but it just wasn't to be there at the end.
Hey, Chris, we thought it was going to be a storybook, and then we realized again when we are. It's an Indy. It can't be storybook. It's got to end with a thud, and that's exactly what happened, too. Think about this team, Chris. They're beaten by 6 field goals. And the biggest part of the problem, obviously the late defense letting Seattle get down in field goal position for that game-winning 56-yarder. But even prior to that, the fact remains, you just cannot accurately run an offense and expect to win when you can't throw it down the field. I mean, you had that completion to Pierce late, which extended the drive and put Groupe in position to hit what we thought could have been the game winner. But all in all, when you're unable to get it down the field, you're just really hosed. And I thought that was still the emphasis of this game. The simple fact is, at quarterback, you're not going to be able to get it down the field, and things have to, consequently, Chris, go perfectly. And then you remember again that this is the Colts, this is Indy, and it rarely does it go perfectly. So there it is.
It was a very Colts situation when you think about you get the career-long 60-yarder for the lead. The defense keeps the high-scoring Seahawks out of the end zone all day long, still find a way to lose. I think a lot of folks were questioning why the Seahawks were using timeouts on defense. Didn't seem to make sense. And then you see why, because any time at all on the clock nowadays is enough time, especially when you see that great kick return they got.
Yeah, you did. You got the great kick return, and then it took you a couple of passes to get in position. No, that's absolutely a smart move got there. I just think about it from this standpoint. It was the ultimate Hail Mary for Phillip Rivers, and obviously the familiarity of Rivers will strike it is what they look for. The problem is, there's some chances where maybe in certain situations, if you can get Riley Leonard who can actually throw it down the field, maybe has a little escapability. I mean, is this, maybe sometimes a 2-quarterback situation with Rivers? Does the ego allow it? I thought a couple of different times today maybe had, and again, I don't know if Riley Leonard was going to be a difference, but you just needed to try to get it with a threat to get it down the field, and with Rivers, that threat is just not there.
If you could put Rivers' brain inside Leonard's body, you could make a Frankenstein guy. Here's what I want to know, and I've been talking about this ever since they announced it would be Rivers. It's not how he would play or what kind of shape he was in. It's how he's going to feel tomorrow. You can see him on the sideline at one point. He was doing some exercises, some stretching with his shoulder. That, to me, will be a big indicator about how he'll be able to go next week. I realize you get an extra day to get ready for the Monday night game.
I almost have to think, this is like a special circumstance where maybe you've got to do some things situationally at quarterback here. I mean, you're already doing something incredibly unconventional anyway, so what the heck? Go all the way with it, right? Because you have to, at times, have the threat of throwing it 10 yards down the field. And that threat with Rivers, I love the story, but that threat, simply put, as we witnessed today, is not there. And again, Chris, for most of that game, you got really good efforts on both sides of the football, and you just kind of wonder if you have to be even more unconventional given the circumstances at that position for the Colts. Probably not, but I guess we'll see. But you know this, the Niners are going to be defensively loaded up, all about what the Colts did today for Rivers on Monday night, and you don't want that to get ugly early.
All right, John, still 3 games to go. A lot to talk about starting tomorrow at 3 o'clock, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. John, we'll do it again next Sunday, and be looking ahead to that Monday night contest.
You got it, Chris. Thanks, buddy.
All right, let's hit a break. Back with more right after this.
Thanks. Back at Lumen Field in Seattle with Joel A. Erickson, the beat writer for the Colts, Indy Star. Joel, So much to happen today. They had a great chance to win this game in the end. Phillip Rivers showed a lot. The defense showed a lot. Let's start with Rivers first. What can he bring to this team that moving forward now with 3 games left?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just the way he gets them in and out of plays, the accuracy, and you could tell today he was not trying to throw an interception. He was doing it in a way where he didn't want to commit turnovers. That's the kind of thing that if it's a young guy, if it's Riley Leonard, he doesn't know how to avoid those the same way. He also doesn't know how to get them in the right play, make those calls the way Phillip Rivers did.
Are you encouraged or discouraged now with the quarterback situation moving forward with 3 tough games left?
Yeah, I think it's still, in the big picture, it's still a little bit discouraging because they can't really push the ball down the field. They have to play this grinded out style. It's going to be tough to play this kind of game defensively every week. And so I think they're limited, but the thing is, you knew they were limited. The moment Daniel Jones went down, they were going to be limited. I know Riley Leonard's younger, but he's really not going to do much. They're not going to call much of a different game plan with him back there. So they just don't have many options. It kind of illustrates a little bit everything went right for them today. They still lost.
How about this defense holding Seattle out of the end zone? I don't think any of us expected that, and likely they'll get Buckner back and maybe even Sauce Gardner, so that's got to help down the line too, doesn't it?
Yeah, you'd think so. You really feel like the defense maybe has something going here. The hard part is there's still some weaknesses in there, like that last drive. They needed an edge rusher to make a play. They couldn't get it in those last couple seconds. That's the kind of thing that you hope Buckner fills, but teams are also going to double team him, and they need those guys to step up.
All right, 3 games left. They are 1 game back of the wild card position of Houston. They play Houston down the line, so despite losing 5 of 6, the future is still that they've got that opportunity, and that's all you want right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is you've got a blueprint. You've got an identity, something you've got to follow, and you've got a quarterback who can get you into those things. That's probably better than most teams playing their number 3 quarterback, because usually it's a young guy who doesn't really know what's going on. But it's going to be tough. These are good teams coming down the stretch. It's going to be tough to replicate this game over and over and over again.
What do you think the reaction is going to be at Lucas Oil with Phillip Rivers there for his first game with fans?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one because people remember what he did. People know what he's doing now. I think it's going to be a good one for him. He's going to like what he hears next week.
So thank you. You can see his work in the Indy Star. We'll be back with much more on Sports Overtime right after this timeout.
Here's Shelette Bay and Dan Spieler, weeknights at 10 on Central Indiana's most watched news station, Fox 59.
The Pacers at home today against the NBA's worst team, Washington. Blue and gold got off to a good start. Ben Matherin, the bank is open. Knocks home the 3, 15 points for Ben. A couple minutes later, it's Jarris Walker cleaning up the mess with the 2-handed dunk. Indiana by 1 after 1, but from then on, all Wizards. Are you kidding me? Marvin Bagley, the 3rd, led the way with a game-high 23 points. The blue and gold humbled on the home court, 108-89. Kyle Jackson Butler tipped off Big East play yesterday with a thrilling double overtime win over Providence. Rebuff product Evan Haywood, 18 points, 4 of 8 from deep, including a game-winning triple.
You're watching WRTV, part of the Scripps News Group.
The ending was not what the Colts or their fans had hoped for on Sunday. Phillip Rivers' final pass of the game intercepted, closing out an 18-16 win for the Seahawks. But the fact that Rivers and the Colts were even anywhere near a situation to win this game was a remarkable feat unto itself.
All in all, disappointed, thankful, and nothing but gratitude from a standpoint of getting to be here and be a part of it again.
44-year-old Rivers, nearly 5 full years removed from his last snap in the NFL, got behind center for the Colts in a crucial Week 15 spot, with playoffs hopes fading. And for all of Sunday's 60 minutes, he had the Colts in a position to escape Seattle with a win.
It was a blast. But obviously the emotions now are disappointment, right? Disappointment. This isn't about me. We got a team that is scrapping like crazy to try to stay alive and get in the postseason. So obviously we're all disappointed. Came up just short.
18 of 27 passing for 120 yards. Those numbers are not extraordinary by any means. But put in the context of joining this team just 5 days prior. And did we mention he's 44 years old? Rivers' touchdown pass to Josh Downs late in the first half had Indy leading by 10.
The fact that it's been 1,800 days since I've thrown a touchdown, or an interception for that matter. So we got both of those checked, box checks. But it was, that was exciting. That was an exciting drive and a heck of a drive. We had a few different plays. Again, it was one of those grinded out games. I know we didn't have a ton of yards total offense, but we controlled the ball. I mean, we did all those things that you wanted to do.
The Colts' hopes would come down to another guy who's only been on the team for 2 weeks. Blake Groupe's 60-yard field goal under a minute left put Indy back in front by 1. But Seattle kicker Jason Myers had the best game of his career. 6 kicks, 6 makes, the clincher from 56, as Myers scores all 18 points for the Seattle victory.
If I can stay healthy, like I feel good, and it's going to get better as we go. But the catch in that is we got to win. It doesn't really matter if it's getting better as we go if we don't win, because it's going to be over in 3 weeks. So that's the catch there, but it's going to continue to get better. I mean, this was obviously the first one. We're talking about 3 days of practice.
The headline will be the Colts' 4th straight loss. Their record now stands at 8-6, playoff chances growing slim. But the bigger story will be Rivers, proving he's still got it and could still give the Colts a shot to pull something together in the final 3 weeks of the season. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.